Welcome, beloved soul travelers. This isn't just a video. This is a testimony, a transformation, a sacred rebellion wrapped in truth. My name is Issa Rose Sophia, the voice behind Petals and Thorns, and the breath of Sprout from Darkness. Before I was a storyteller, I was a silent scream wrapped in skin. This is the story of how I broke and bloomed, of how my inner child became my sovereign self, of how I turned my pain into prophecy and my breakdowns into bloomscapes. You're not too much. You're multidimensional. This story is your mirror. Reflection prompt. If this moment were a mirror, what truth is asking to be witnessed? Act 1. The inner child and angry teenager. I was born with wings they tried to burn off my back. My inner child wasn't wild, she was wise. But wisdom in a girl is treated like rebellion. I was told to stop crying before I even understood why I was weeping. So I learned to disappear in plain sight. I turned to books. Choose your own ending ones were my inner child's favorite. Also music and my imagination to escape. In stories, I was heroic. In songs, I sobbed silently. In my mind, it was divine, unlimited. But silence is a thin cup. Eventually, it overflows. And when the silence became unbearable, I turned to rage. They say anger is the bodyguard of sadness. Then I was a fortress, a temple of flame, with whole armies behind me. The girl they punished for feeling too deeply became the teen they feared, because I stopped apologizing. I was born inside a burning bush of betrayal. If I lit fires, it was only because the rooms I entered were already full of gas. The world was too blinded by their own burns and burdens to notice the smoke. They blamed me for the match, never smelling the gasoline they spewed. I was on fire, no one noticed. They executed me on the stake of my own survival and blamed me for the scent of dead flesh. But I didn't die. I transfigured. Reflection prompts. What sacred tools saved your spirit when nothing else could? Where did you learn to escape? And what pieces of you are still hiding there? What fire were you burned for lighting when you were only trying to survive? Who punished you for the smoke but never questioned the source? What is your rage protecting? And is it time to let it speak with clarity instead of combustion? Act 2. The mother, the mirror, and the myth. They say when a child is born, a mother is born too. But what if the mother never got to be a child first? My oldest son just turned 18. My middle is 13. My youngest just turned 10 on May 7th, 2025. And this month, May, is Mother's Day. Me and my 18-year-old are both graduating this year. I'm the 2025 commencement speaker, an NSLS inductee. I'm entering my bachelor's in psychology this summer at university, but no paper unwrites what's been erased. I agreed to the adoption of my oldest and my youngest son to my mother when I was in the halfway house, under the promise of free college for the children and that they'd always know me. But my mother did a closed adoption behind my back during the pandemic. Just like she never told me I was adopted, a family friend did when I was 8. Just like the card from my biological father with the signature, "Special Friend," he died when I was 12. She lies to him now like she lied to me, to protect her delusion, her comfort, but I broke the curse. My mother had me at 16. Her trauma bled into me, but I did what she couldn't. I remembered. I mothered. I stayed. I earned my wings and my horns. I mothered through systems, through silence, through soul. I didn't mother for approval. I mothered through mirrors. And when I saw Jypze's rebellion echo in my child's eyes, I vowed, I will not mother through masks. I will mother through metamorphosis. Reflection prompts. What does it mean to mother yourself first? Where are you still grieving children, literal or inner, that were never held properly? Who has rewritten your story to preserve their comfort? And how do you reclaim authorship? Act 3. The birth of Jypze Nyx and Lucia Lilith. When the nervous system fragments, the soul often splits, not to escape, but to survive. When the psyche can no longer hold the contradictions, it creates containers for them, mythic ones. And in me, those containers became personas, medicine women, memory keepers. Jypze Nyx, my rebel wing. She didn't ask for crowns, she crowned contradiction. Lucia Lilith, eternal flame, not an alter ego, an altar, incarnate. Lucia doesn't wait for healing, she initiates it. She is righteous rage made ritual, pain turned prophecy. Jypze is the spark, Lucia the fire, Issa Rose the sovereign rhythm between them. These aren't masks, they're medicine. They are not dysfunction, they're divine design. With borderline personality disorder, or BPD, emotion becomes myth. And when myth is honored, it becomes map. I don't split in shame, I split in sacred purpose. I am multifaceted magic. At Sprout from Darkness, this is exactly what we speak to. This is our work. Here, we are dedicated to soul purpose retrieval, overcoming unaddressed trauma, and holistic well-being. We unite light and shadow healers, spiritual engineers, and rainbow warriors to bridge the wisdom of spirituality, mysticism, psychology, neuroscience, and philosophy, illuminating both the truths that enlighten and the wounds that divide. We believe that unaddressed trauma and toxic environments fragment the soul, keeping our true potential dormant. Through storytelling, testimony, and a shared spiritual recovery toolbox, we guide seekers through self-exploration, empowerment, and healing. Our mission is to provide a sacred space for transformation, where we reclaim inner peace, wisdom, and spiritual sovereignty. By embracing both light and shadow, we evolve together, mind, soul, and spirit, toward awakening, wholeness, and purpose. Reflection prompt. If your symptoms were sacred archetypes, what would they reveal? What part of your pain became your protector? And are you ready to transform it into purpose? Which parts of you were born from necessity, but now serve as sacred art? Act 4. Becoming Issa Rose, the sovereign self. There came a moment where the noise fell away, and I heard the voice behind the voices. I had carried the child, I had screamed as the teen, I had burned as the rebel, and I stitched them into a bloom called Issa Rose Sophia. Issa Rose doesn't dominate, she devotes. She doesn't beg, she breathes. She doesn't bloom for applause, she blooms from the altar of her own becoming. I am not either or, I am both and. I am thorn and petal. I am storm and soil. I didn't survive to shrink. I survived to serve through sacred truth, through sovereign tenderness. I lead not with perfection, but with passion, purpose, and prayer. Reflection prompts. What throne were you taught to fear sitting in? Where have you confused submission with safety? What truth are you ready to speak? even if it trembles. Act 5. I am that I am. The bloom beyond the becoming. I have been many names, and I honor everyone, but I am not limited to who I've been. I am who I choose to be now and who I am becoming. I am the root, the rose, the wreckage, and the ritual. I am not just Issa Rose, not just Jypze, not just Lucia. I am the mirror behind them all. I am that I am. I am the voice that was silenced, now sovereign. I do not bloom for performance, I bloom for prophecy. I do not return for forgiveness. I return for the one still afraid to speak. From trauma to testimony, from fracture to formation, from breakdown, breakthrough, and bloom, we rise. Final reflection prompts. What if your becoming is not about changing, but remembering? What sacred self have you buried beneath performance? And what would it mean to say, I am not broken, I am blooming? Call to action. For the sproutlings who found themselves in this story, not every garden ends in harvest. Some lead you deeper into the roots. Some stories do not close with a cure, they open a portal. And just when you thought this was the end, another seed stirs. Because what if the parts you buried were never broken, just frozen? And what if the snow globe you shook as a child was more than play? It was prophecy. The story continues in mirrors, in memories, in myths, snow globes, and soul parts. A portal to the remembered self is coming soon. Until then, grieve, grow, and gaze inward. The next spell is already blooming. With reverence and rhythm, Issa Rose, sprout from the darkness. At Sprout from Darkness, we believe storytelling is a sacred form of soul retrieval. This isn't just a testimony, it's an invitation to reflect, to reclaim, to rise. Share this with someone still searching for their light. Visit our soulful resource garden at our website, sproutfromdarkness.com. Download a journal, reflect, speak, rebirth. Listen to our podcast on Sprouted Reflections of Issa Rose. Subscribe to both YouTube, Issa Rose, Petals, and Thorns, and Sprout from Darkness, and keep blooming across the realms on our mediums, Spotify, SoundCloud, Facebook, and beyond. You are not too much. You are multidimensional. You are not alone. You are a miracle in motion. From silence to sovereignty, from breakdown to bloom, we rise in poetry, paradox, and possibilities.